there is compelling evidence that the average IQ of Caucasians in the world has dropped, that much is certain. Over the past generation or so, approximately 25, 40 years, it varies, the different studies, the different figures arrived at, but it's well understood that white people are getting stupider. And there are various reasons. Some claim that it's a temporary thing, it's not a genetic thing, so it's a function of diet, exercise, and light, funnily enough. Too much ambient light in the West at night time. Not enough sleep and so on. And then there's some people who say it's genetic and that this is clear evidence of Eugene Marais, a South African guy. Eugene Marais wrote 2 books which everybody must read, called The Soul of the White Ant and The Soul of the Ape, in which he demonstrated that that there is such a thing as one of the things that he demonstrated is causal memory, which means that if your mother had a traumatic experience long before you were conceived, or your father, that you would have a predisposition, a genetic predisposition conveyed through their respective sperm and egg to wariness of that experience, or fear of that experience, or an apprehension, that is to say a grasping, as in apprehend a criminal, of that experience in advance. And he proved it through troops of baboons and I think vervet monkeys and impala, herds of impala, if I recall correctly. And his research was stolen and used by a Norwegian guy to win a Nobel Prize. I don't know all the Nobel Prizes. There's peace, medicine, physics. I don't know all of them, so I don't know what Nobel Prize that guy won, but that's what happened. And so it's clear that there are, in the nature versus nurture debate, the overwhelming evidence is on the side of nature. Genes are everything. So either something is happening in our genes or whatever, but I want to come to the point now. We're losing brains. We're getting dumber, fatter. And the evidence is all around us. We've been seeing it very much in a very conspicuous, it has been conspicuously evident in the new South Africa. You know, what white people have been willing to believe is staggering over recent years. And I've been reading some articles on, excuse me, I beg your pardon, the Zondo Commission. And my favorite thing, my favorite tale, is how former Transnet CEO Brian Molefe admitted to the State Capture Commission that he irregularly increased the purchase price of 1,064 locomotives from 38.6 billion to 54.5 billion. And this is obviously, this happened during his tenure as the CEO of Transnet. which was between 2011 and 2015. And of course, you know how the mainstream media is. They report it as a difference of 15 billion. But in fact, the difference is 15.9 billion. So if you're going to round it off, you have to round it up to 16 billion. So a price was agreed. The price was agreed. The price was settled. There wasn't an outstanding dispute or an outstanding negotiation or discussion. It was settled. Price agreed. 38.6 billion, you get 1,064 locomotives. If I remember correctly, they were to be bought from, was it Spain? And so he goes on to say in his testimony that while the Transnet board had agreed to the 38.6 billion, it was his then group chief financial officer, Anuj Singh, and former executive Siyabonga Gama, who recommended that they hike the price of the locomotives to 54.5 billion SA rand cash folding notes. And the reaction of the media was not the reaction of the liberal, white dominated media was not, this is unfathomably unbelievable. How is it that in one deal the deployed cadres of the African National Congress could steal 16,000 million rand? In fact, they're not even saying it was, it must have been, it had to have been theft. They're talking about irregular expenditure. And some of them hint faintly and cowardly at corruption, the word corruption, but only hint at it. He said that the bidders wanted more money. Now you might say, well, Simon, then they didn't agree on it. No, they did. I'll tell you how it works. Is they do research, there's a word for it that I can't think of, into what something costs. So what they'll do is they say we need 10 Ford Focus motor cars. And they will ascertain the market price of Ford Focus motor cars. They will then budget that amount. And they will usually put in provisions for miscellaneous expenditures, sundries, and so on. I've done many of these budgets, written many of them, not for billions, make no mistake. The largest one I ever wrote was for 199 million rand. But the principles remain the same. So let's say the actual cost of something, is, let's call it 1 million rand. You ring up the shop, you ring up the supplier, you ring up the importer, you ring up the agent, and you get the price, and it's $1 million. You will then put in a budget for approval to get the money to buy these objects, these things, with explicit line itemized provisions for currency exchange fluctuations, for annual inflation, for things that you may have overlooked, because usually there's an idiot in the process. And I mean that not ungenerously. There's always the guy who forgets that you need air conditioning because these Ford Focus motor cars are going to be doing a certain community research project in the Kalahari, in the northern Karoo, wherever. So you have to account for the idiot factor. And there is always, it's colloquially referred to as fat. There is always fat in such budgets. So my point is that when he deflects responsibility by saying, oh, no, it was the supplier. They were willing to accept 49 billion. They knew well in advance that the actual, genuine, true, correct price, including VAT, was 38.6 billion. Any suggestion that later on Fury Ford suddenly started selling the Fords for 25% more than you'd budgeted, not what they'd quoted, what you'd budgeted, including currency fluctuation, inflation, and so on, is absurd. There's no way it did not happen. Don't say it and don't believe it. You're not from Mhlanga. Don't believe it. You're not from, your kids don't go to Westville Girls High School, St. Mary's, Girls College. You're not stupid. Leave that to the others. There are enough of them. Are these guys shrieking? Are they shrieking about how it's possible for 16 billion to be scooped in one single deal? No. But the clever ones, the ones upon whom this decline in IQ amongst white people in the world has had the least effect, are leaving South Africa. I've already reported to you the 10%, just under, fractionally under, it's not worth calling it 9% for the sake of honesty, 10% for all practical intents and purposes. 1 in 10 of South Africa's dollar millionaires left the country last year in the 2019-2020 measurement period, over that 12-month period. In fact, it is from the 1st to the 31st. You know, it's calendar year. Huh? Those who've got any brains are ducking. The rest are like catatonic. I don't know what else to tell you. 16 billion in one deal. But let's say, I don't know what I'm talking about. Simon thinks he knows everything, loudmouthed Irishman. And it was 49 billion. But they just jacked it up to 54.5, which is the case. That's 5.5 billion. How do you steal 5,500 million rand in one deal? But it wasn't. It was 16 billion. It was 15.9 billion. But the point is, no matter how you look at it, even if you look at it with the charitable spirit of a sociology lecturer at the University of Cape Town, even if you're that mentally and spiritually weak. Such that you only judge it by the defense. The guy says, oh, I didn't steal 100 rand, I only stole 12. And you believe him, you poor fool. How? Does it not affect you to know that these oaks are in single deals? It's too much for your mind. Guys, thank you for listening to me rant and rave. I apologize to those of you who are offended by histrionics. I know that there are many of you. But by the same token, I can tell you that we have received, and not just I, by the way, or in fact, particularly not I, especially not me, we have received far, 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 far more compliments and criticisms to the effect, tell Simon not to be demure, tell Simon not to rein himself in, tell Simon to tell it like it is. That's what we support, that's what we want. Nevertheless, as I say, I'm sorry if some of you didn't appreciate me popping a blood vessel. Nevertheless, thank you for watching the video. We appreciate it. If you liked the video, press like. It strengthens us. It helps us. It benefits us, which allows us to give you more. All right, everybody. Good night and God bless you.